My fellow black people, especially FBA, listen and listen attentively, right? An awakening is happening. I want you to know this. It's happening and it's very serious. This thing has been kept away from you for a long time, right? The real Jews were the ones that came on ships. The real Jews were the ones that came from ships. This is what they've been hiding from you, anyways. But watch this video. So when you're back, I'll finish it, okay?
Okay, so I'm a Hebrew Israelite, but technically that's not a religion and it's more so a bloodline. It's a heritage. And I learned who my ancestors were, which are the people of the Bible, the Hebrew Israelites. And it's a chapter in the Bible. It's Deuteronomy 28, and it talks about a particular people that were enslaved and taken captive on slave ships to a land that's not their own. Now, when you think back in history, what we're taught in school, and even like when you think about it, what other group was enslaved and brought to America on slave ships but black people, people of color? So those people are our ancestors. So since learning that, I'm like, that's really how I'm supposed to live. I'm supposed to live biblically. And that means that I'm not going to eat unholy things like the Bible says. I don't eat pork. I don't eat crabs or shrimp. I don't eat those things because they're unclean. It says we're not supposed to eat them in the Bible. I don't celebrate Halloween, Christmas, Easter. Those things are not of the God of the Bible, if you want to get technical, and you can even research the origin. So it's a lot of stuff that's in the Bible that we didn't even know, like, unless you really read it for real. And I also worship and keep the Sabbath on Saturday. In the Bible it says that Saturday is technically the day of rest. That's when the Most High commanded us to rest. That's our Sabbath. You know how most people worship on Sundays? That was actually changed by Catholic people. That was not implemented by the Most High God. So I just try my best to live biblically, and I don't allow anybody to sway me from the truth. The truth is not popular. And understand that the devil came to steal, kill, and destroy. And he's very confusing. He causes confusion, and he caused so much confusion to the point where people don't really know that their ancestors are the people in the Bible. And that doesn't take it away from people that's not of color. That doesn't mean that we should hate them or treat them like they're less of anything. But I just found it so beautiful that this book, this Bible that has been here for so long, is really about my people. So I think it's important that we live it out. That's the reason why it's here. So yeah, that's what I believe in. The Most High, following his commandments, eating like it, living like it, and having a relationship with him, a true relationship, trying not to sin anymore.
You saying you're Jewish, that
No, I'm Jew, not Jewish. Jewish means like that of a Jew. I'm saying I'm Jew.
you're a Jew.
Blood of Christ.
That
Orthodox
comes from,
Christian.
right. But are you a follower of the philosophy of the black Hebrew Israelites? Because that's where the idea comes from. Not all of those folks are extremists, but some are extremists.
I'm a follower of the idea. I have a vague idea that all people came from Africa. But what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
now I could Andy Kaufman this about 7 more minutes,
Yeah.
and then tell you what it is. What
Should
the
I
whole
count?
point is.
Let's count 7 minutes.
No,
Do less.
I did this to do a spoiler alert.
Sure, spoiler.
What's the first thing I said at the beginning?
We're talking about engineering and humans. We're all
And
human.
I said, and then what did I say we shouldn't focus on?
Race.
Not just that. I said they shouldn't teach this in school.
History.
The history, because what they do, what schools are doing is exactly what the CIA does with Pixar films and Disney films. They make Bambi's mom die in the beginning, right? And off that pain comes a purchase of ice cream. Off that pain comes, I need some more toys. Off that pain comes, I need a bigger house. Off that pain comes, I need more girls than my wife. Off that pain comes, so they put that pain in to make us, now we're the orphans of capitalism, to make us be consumers, and we need to be a community, not just consumers. So I could have went another 7 minutes by being a person who presents himself in a way that says, well, I don't have to feel your pain because I also have pain too that's not being recognized. And in every interview, when I say, well, why did I get to the point of putting up the tweet? No one wants to understand why I got to that point,
You
right?
had pain. You had pain.
Yeah, but
You
no
had
one,
pain in your heart.
but let's say this, undoubtedly, Jewish people have a lot of movies about that pain, and black people have a lot of movies about the pain of slavery, right? It's almost impossible to find a movie about Mansa Musa. When you go to the African History Museum in Washington, D.C., it doesn't start with the idea of Africans being kings. It starts with the idea of Africans being slaves. But here's another interesting point about this. This was said to me one time and it stuck with me as a family member of mine. With Africans, how many times you've heard like a rapper, talk about we were kings? That's incorrect. If we're Jew, and since we weren't the kings. We were the slaves that Moses freed.
According to Amos, chapter 9, verse 7. Check this out. I saw this verse, I was floored. It says, Israel, these northern tribes, Nikreu, they are called Kushim. They call Kushim. The word Kushim comes from the word Kush. Kush is Ethiopia, or the area surrounding Ethiopia. And it says that Israel is likened, or they are called Kushim. As it is say, Kushim comes from the word black. As it is says, this is from the Talmud, quoting Amos chapter 9, verse 7, Alo kibnei Kushim atem li. You are Israel like the sons of the Kushim. You, Israel, are called Kushim. Why? Because the prophet is telling us that there is part of Israel, let's call them the remnant. Let's call them those who have been scattered, who are like the Cushim. Now, when the prophets speak about them, he's not speaking about them in a favorable way. Why? Because they have been scattered.
And, the front page of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, all over the place. Fantastic, incredible publicity. Why? Why is it, I thought, that black Jews are so deeply troubling to Western sensibilities? It really puzzled me for a long time. And it was interesting, it was fascinating to see that Enlightenment scholars at the end of the 18th century were equally puzzled. And the reason that they were puzzled, why were they puzzled? They were puzzled because they didn't know how they became black. So why then, all of a sudden, do the people that we're all interested in this group, everybody here is interested in the question of Jews, as we say, of color, throughout the world. I mean, that's one of these are the groups, Kulanu and me, we've been very interested in. At the end of the 18th century and for the first half of the 19th century, Jews of color were not marginal. They were mainstream preoccupations of people. Now, that's something which I'm the first person to point out. It was interesting for racial theorists for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is that you've got, for the first time, the idea that Jews are multicolored, right? And so that in itself is kind of interesting. But the underlying thing is the proof that this provides to the monogenists. And they took up the cause of all of the black, brown Jewish communities throughout the world, like it was the most fabulous, fabulous thing that they could imagine in support of their own ideas. And they would spend their times traveling the world and looking for new black Jewish communities, and they could bring these back and feed them into the racial kind of machine, the groups. All of these kind of black Jewish group, brown, they were all kind of dragooned as part of the holy crusade of proving the unified origins of mankind. What a noble thing that turned out to be. And of course, with Darwin, that pretty much marks the end of polygenism. Except that even today there are genetic scientists who fiddle around with the proof in such a way that it looks as if there are races and that they're kind of significantly different from each other, but it really is not the case.
So should we go to the question about conflation? What does conflation mean? Were there different kinds of conflation of Jews and blacks over time? Or should we go to the question of looking at your slides?
Well, let me quickly just deal, because the conflation is in the title of my book. And I think just to say what I mean by it would be a good introduction, really, to the slides. And Bonnie sort of mentioned very kindly a chapter in that 2013 book. And there was nothing original about that. There's a great scholar by the name of Sander Gilman, who really is the father of all studies about the perceptions of the body of the Jew. He's an extraordinary scholar, and I owe a huge amount to everything that he's written, and I admire him enormously. And so, a long time ago, he wrote that there was a kind of medieval perception that Jews were black, and there's plenty of proof that within Europe, the Jews were considered to be kind of black. There are many images of Jews being black, and even if they weren't black, they were not even slightly black. They were kind of considered to be black in one way or another. So blackness and Jews really went hand in hand. If you read his work, or if you read my work, and particularly if you read this new book, you will see the multitude of examples of it. And if you go, for instance, into the marginalia, the illustrations in English or European prayer books in the 13th and 14th centuries, you frequently see hook-nosed Jews wearing Jewish hats and with black faces. So the idea that Jews were black was definitely there, before the Enlightenment period. And
so let's go to the slides now.
Just a sec, because I just need to say, too, in the 19th century, the idea of Jewish blackness was reinforced by the discovery of all of these actual black Jews in India and Africa, all over the place. And by 1850, the main racial theorists of the day started saying that, yes, actually, Jews are Negroes. Negroes in some...
Jesus was a poor, Middle Eastern, Palestinian, Jewish peasant who lived in the first century. That means he had darker skin, that he was Middle Eastern, and that he was both Palestinian and Jewish. That is Jesus' identity. We know that Jesus is portrayed as a refugee. Jesus in the text is marginalized in pretty much every way. Why do churches not describe Jesus in that way? Racism. Churches in the United States have been very racist places, and that's why that Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. have been described as the most racist hour in America. We want to make Jesus in the United States this white Jesus. And so I have compared this in articles to the white nationalist Jesus versus the historical Jesus. And the white nationalist Jesus, which is continuing to gain momentum right now, you might also call it the MAGA Jesus, is the Jesus who has blonde hair and blue eyes, who cares about everybody being rich, who doesn't want any outsiders in this country, who just wants people to be able to make money and live a comfortable life, compared to the historical Jesus who welcomed absolutely everyone, who was brown, and who said that the last shall be first and the first shall be last. He was talking about a radical social order. And so I think one of the things that churches need to do is do a much better job of talking about who the historical Jesus was, because one thing we can say for sure is that he wasn't white.
Nigeria is just a name that the British threw onto the amalgamation of a bunch of different tribes there that destabilized the region and led to a genocide and a Holocaust of the Igbo people. Where in the 1960s, millions of them were systematically killed and murdered. So this is so relevant because we have such a never again Holocaust theme, but these people had it. But what is mind-boggling to me, which I can't imagine why this is not in the news and not spoken about, is that a large chunk, more than a fourth of the transatlantic slave trade came specifically from this one tribe. So how are we not starting to connect dots and being like, wait a minute, so the tribe in Africa that the government of Israel is fascinated with and enamored by is now the blood of those people flowing through the African American community here, which would make sense to me why they're all being like, we have an Israelite affinity where we're identifying, this is us, we are this. And so I'm like, so yeah, if the DNA of the blood of these people are in them, they have a valid claim to feel and say that. Where it goes wrong then is where spiritual bullies come and hijack that reality into forming cults that create hate, and etc. So those are the people I battle. I'm not battling the reality that you could be from the house of Israel, because like I said, the bottle shattered and glass went around the whole world. I'm battling the bullies that are standing in between you and your inheritance, which is the Torah. Because if you really are from the house of Israel, come back towards the Torah. It's perfectly been preserved throughout the exile.
Black people, make your way to Jerusalem, okay? Because they love us there. Me and Manny are the only two Black people in our group on this trip. And when we were walking through Bethlehem, there's people trying to sell you stuff. And one of the guys said, 2 for $10 for white people, 4 for $10 for Black people. And me and Manny lost it. And then another guy was like, oh, I love you. I love black. I love black. And I was like, wow, it feels good to be loved.
You're black. You should go to Israel and see how racist they are. I went twice, goofy. Now walk with me. See, y'all are so accustomed to weaponizing fear to keep black people in our place and thinking the way that you want us to think that it blows your mind when you actually hear the truth. I went to Israel during the middle of a war and I was treated with nothing but love, respect, and appreciation. Matter of fact, I met so many black Israeli Americans who were living there who love every single moment of living in Israel, because the gag is that Israel is one of the most diverse places in the world. They love everybody who's not a musty genocidal terrorist.
Yeah, it's true. These people know who we are. They're just amazed at visually seeing us and seeing that we now know. We finally know. They're amazed at the fact that we know, to be able to look at us and be like, wow, they really know. But yeah, they know black Americans are the children of Israel. When I wear shirts like this, I mean, they know. They know. I mean, the looks I get, the stares I get, they know. And within their soul, they're like, oh, wow, they know. Time is up, because spiritually, the Most High isn't just working on black people. The Most High is working on them as well. You know what I mean? So it's incredible. It really is incredible to see. And I just thank the Most High. I'm just happy to be here. I just thank the Most High to be able to rise in these times. So yeah.
They told us we was black and that the real natives of this land was the Indians that look like the Indians that come from India. But if y'all would ever go to Mississippi, the place that they try to hide the most, you'll see black people that actually look like Indians with long flowing hair, just like the people from India, but they're black. They have a lot of melanin in their skin. They're dark skinned. As a matter of fact, most of my cousins are Indians. They are real Indians, Choctaw Indians. But they told us no. And if you say this to somebody, this is just how brainwashed that they have people believing that you're black. Like they just made this up. That if you even say this to them that, hey, no, I'm actually a Choctaw Indian, that they will debate with you and even start to tell you how you're nothing but a slave. And I'm talking about some of my own people have done this. And even want to go as far as to say that, oh, well, you need to take a test to prove this. Like, come on now, be for real. They tricked you. They didn't want to give you any resources to this land, so they lied to you and they made you feel like you were black. You're not indigenous to this land. You weren't here first. There were people here before you, but how could that be? What if they actually, what if we are the Indians that they were talking about? We were already here and they came over with their boats and they took people from here and they spread them out all over the world. What if they did that? You're not going to tell me that they took everybody from Africa and everybody that looks like me with melanin in their skin, that they brought them on a boat from Africa. Yeah, right. Come on now. Let's start with the fairy tale. Maybe they brought some people over here, but I'm telling you, some people were already here. As a matter of fact, a lot of people were already here. But every time they show Mississippi as being a slave state, nothing but slaves, and this certain look of people. But if I can only just show you pictures of my cousins and what they look like, you'll see how these people lied. They straight lied to us, okay?
Yahuwah is a Hebrew black man, and they changed his color to white, the whitewashed history, and I have proof from the scriptures to prove that. This man is not Yahusha. This is Caesar Borgia, a pope's son, a former pope's son, that was depicted as the Messiah. Here's proof. Here's another picture of the Savior that was depicted as white, that was actually from Caesar Borgia. This is from Daniel 10. And his body was like beryl, and his face like the appearance of lightning, and his eyes like torches of fire, and his arms and feet like polished bronze in appearance. Okay, and I'm going to show you what polished bronze looks like after I show this next verse. This is from Revelation. And his feet like burnished brass, as if refined in a furnace. Okay, now I'm going to show you what burnt brass looks like, okay? This is burnt brass. Okay, look how dark that is. And I'll show you guys a couple images. But look how black it is, right? That's some brass vessels right there. And here's brass compared to a black man's hand. Take a screenshot if you feel like it. Now I'm going to show you proof that his disciples and children were Hebrew descendants. This is from King of Solomon. Song of Songs, Song of Solomon. I am dark, but lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Shilamo. Do not look upon me, because I am dark, because the sun has tanned me. My mother's sons were displeased with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards. My own vineyard I have not kept. Right, so he explains that he is black from the sun because he was outside a lot, okay? So right there, black disciple. This is also from Solomon, okay? I was sleeping, but my heart was awake. The voice of my beloved. He knocks. Open for me, my sister, my love, my dove, my perfect one. For my head is drenched with dew, my locks with the drops of the night. Now you're probably asking, what does it mean by my locks? I'm going to show you because they're talking about dreadlocks, or I'll show you guys. This is what he was talking about, locks, right? These are pretty common with, people that have thicker hair. Yeah, he's talking about locks. So Solomon had locks. He had dreadlocks. As you guys can see, Yahusha also had thicker hair. As it says in Revelation, hair like wool. So that also matches up. I just want to show for a second, too, that blacks were not the only race that used to have locks. Indians also used to have locks, as you guys can see. That's why when they used to capture them, they used to shave their heads. That's where the whole haircut tradition started. They would capture them, shave their heads. They used to have long dreads. Right, and here's a verse from Lamentations. Their appearance has become blacker than sot. Right, and a lot of people don't know the color of sot or even know what sot is, so I'm going to show you. So, like, they use sot now as like a lubricant, but sot is really when you burn stuff, it leaves like this black dust. I'm going to show you guys, but that's the color of sot. So look how black that is. That's like pitch black. Like, it's nowhere close to the colors they have in churches, right? So here's like the powdered form when you burn it, right? Like powdered dust. Feel free to look at this image and take a screenshot. This is also from Lamentations. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. So he just flat out told you our skin was black. Right, people will say because they were black, that does not mean they were Hebrew. Well, I'm going to show you proof they were Hebrew. This is from Jonah 1. And he said to them, I am a Hebrew. This is Jonah. And I am fearing Yahuwah, the mighty one of the heavens, who made the sea and the dry land, the earth. And here's a reading from Genesis. And one who had escaped came and informed Abraham, or Abrim, the Hebrew. The Hebrew, I mean, that's more, I can't get more obvious than that, guys. Right? This is a reading from Exodus. And opened it, and saw the child, and see the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." And this is from Exodus, okay, guys? "And they shall listen to your voice, and you shall come, you and the elders of Israel, to the sovereign of Mitzrayim, and you shall say to him, Yahuwah, the mighty one of the Hebrews, has met with us." Yahuwah, the mighty one of the Hebrews. This is also from Exodus 9. "And Yahuwah said to Moses, Rise early in the morning, and stand before Pharaoh, and say to him, Thus said Yahuwah, the mighty one of the Hebrews, let my people go so that they serve me. Yahuwah, the mighty one of the Hebrews." And here's some proof that the disciples actually spoke Hebrew, because people think that the Hebrew translations aren't correct for some reason, but they are correct. The King James Version and all those versions are the ones that are not correct. And I'm going to show you guys proof. This is Paul. "And having given him permission, Paul, that's Paul, standing on the stairs, motioned with his hands to the people. And when there was a great silence, he spoke in the Hebrew language." Paul spoke Hebrew. This is from Acts 26. "And when we had all fallen to the ground, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in the Hebrew language, Shalu, Shalu, Paul, why do you persecute me? It is hard for you to kick against the prods." Right? And they said this to him in the Hebrew language. This is from 2 Corinthians 11. "Are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they of Israel? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I." They're Hebrews. Shalom, everyone. Please do not be deceived when you guys see these JC pagan white images. The Creator was a Hebrew, dark-skinned man. Scripture proves it all. Hallelujah, everyone. Shalom, everyone. Barak Yahuwah. Have a good day. Like the video if you want. Follow if you want. Shalom, everyone.
Hot take / question for y'all. Why do black people want to be every other race, every other ethnic group, but black? We're the true Israelites. We're the original Native Americans. We're the secret Japanese people. Is it not telling that no other ethnic group, no one else does this? Nobody else does this. And do you know what I think it is? I think a lot of black people have very low racial self-esteem. It's not enough for them to be black. It's not enough for them to be the descendant of slaves. It's not enough for them to be black and to be African and be so forth and so on. They have to add something else in. We talk about the CIA doing this and the CIA doing that. The CIA plugged this and has never taken credit for it. And they went 50. They put up 81 like Kobe. And then when you engage them in good faith and say, hey, bro, why do you feel this way? Why do you think this way? Like, do you have any evidence? They send you a YouTube link.
We know that Mongolians, Euro-Asians are not the indigenous people of the Americas because you cannot be out in the sun all day. Like, these are bare, basic, obvious things. It don't hurt my feelings because I know that my skin is truly copper.
Did you know that Native Americans were enslaved for over 300 years longer than Africans?
I think it's funny how y'all talk about Native American slavery and African slavery as if they were separate. Do you think that when they were capturing and breeding slaves that they were putting them in separate fields and in separate breeding grounds? Millions of indigenous women and children were thrown into slavery and then breeded with African slaves. You know, most African slaves were male, correct? And most Native American slaves were women and children. And they shipped all the men to the Caribbeans. You guys have this weird revisionist concept of history that's really rooted in anti-blackness. Everybody else is allowed to be multi-ethnic except for Black Americans. It doesn't make sense when you actually know the history of America. The French and Spanish colonies had mostly Native American slaves. French and Spanish colonies made up 2/3 of America. When America bought the Louisiana Purchase, all those people who lived in those colonies stayed. And guess which slaves they had? That's right, Native American slaves. And who do you think were catching all these Native American slaves and selling them to the English colonists? That's right, the French and the Spanish. So when y'all say that Black Americans are not indigenous and they don't have any indigenous heritage, it actually doesn't make sense. And you historically know that Native Americans were enslaved. What do you think they did with the slaves? Like, do you really think that they separated them? I genuinely wanted to know. Only 5% of all African slaves came to America, the U.S. That's about 400,000 people. We know that they were mostly male. So you do the math of how we were breeding all of these slaves. Do the math. Do the math. In reality, the reason why y'all deny the indigenous background of Black Americans is because y'all know that would give us claim over this land. That is y'all's biggest fear because y'all are afraid of the repercussions of your ancestors. But the truth is the truth. America literally wrote laws to reclassify Black people of mixed African and indigenous race as Negro. They removed them from the history of the indigenous people so that they could, for one, continue to enslave them, but for two, continue to have claim over this land. I'm tired of y'all feigning ignorance when the truth is right before your eyes. Anyways, I'm done talking about this. If you actually want to learn something for once in your life, read a book. Read this book. I don't care if you buy this book or not, but the truth will come out one day. And until then, we could just wait.
How do I say this? The entire Bible is about Black people. Not only was Jesus Black, but every character in the Bible seems to be Black too. Yeah, Zephaniah and Jeremiah and Jebediah, those all aren't white people names, okay? And Jesus wasn't some tan, partially melanated Middle Eastern person either. I'm talking straight up Black dude, okay? Even in the book of Revelation, when you get the vision of Daniel, he's describing someone with feet like burnt brass and white woolly hair, and we've got the deep running water voice with the red eyes, and you guys, he's Black. The Jewish people are Black people, like Kanye was right. And those people yelling at the park dressed in purple about Black people being the real Hebrew Israelites, they're right, okay? Like, anytime you see the word Hebrew or Israelite or Jew in the Bible, in your mind, you got to replace that with Black person. So the whole Bible is going to make a lot more sense to you once you start reading it like that. But you need to let this get settled in your heart now before you get up there. So, I mean, they were literally whipping him on his way to get crucified, you guys. Crucifixion was a punishment, like, for slaves back then. And gladiators. And all the gladiators were Black, too. Did you know that? Like, you guys, he was sold for 30 pieces of silver. That was the maximum amount of money that a slave could be sold for. Oh, just coincidence? Above his cross, it says INRI. They were like mocking him. They were saying it says this is the king of the Jews. They're saying, like, here's the king of the Black people. Look what we did to him. Why does the KKK burn crosses, you guys? The racist KKK. It's just Black people rejoice. You are God's chosen people. Like, I mean, those are some big shoes to fill, but be honored. Like, feel good about that. Like, how cool. Anyway, see you later. Jesus was Black.
What we're seeing right now in real time is the contract, the Destiny Work contract that they signed to essentially steal, co-op, and pillage this world for its resources, its culture, its spiritual elevation. The contract is running out. That's why they acted up. I don't know how long that contract was to be for. The Hebrew Israelites talking about is 400 years. I think, honestly, that contract was only going to last as long as Black people were going to be asleep. If you haven't noticed, there has been an overwhelming exodus out of the church, okay? This isn't to say that some of y'all not going to church, okay? But there's an overwhelming exodus of Black people leaving the church, as well as there is an overwhelming amount of white folks who are starting to understand the truth of what's going on. Stolen Legacy academically explains it best. That destiny swap that they did with us, it was to obtain the knowledge that it took Africans thousands of years to evolve to. There are just certain things spiritually that they just could not understand. And they were and here's the thing, just like right now, when are afraid, when they don't understand something, rather than sit the fuck down and calm down, they get violent. And that's exactly what they did. When they were kicked out of Egypt multiple times before y'all famous little Plato and Socrates motherfuckers came into Africa, y'all was kicked out because you are spiritually immature. You were spiritually immature. Mind you, the issue that the Africans had with y'all back then was not because of race. It was because you were so spiritually immature. If you didn't understand something, you immediately resort to violence. And here you are today, 1,000+ years later, you don't understand something, and you resort to violence. The destiny swap that you've done on black folk has run its course, okay? Black people in this country resting, that right there, we are taking our own shit back. We're taking our own spirituality back. Us resting is us intentionally breaking the generational curses. We are not waiting for no savior to come and save us. That is what y'all try to lie to us, to keep us in this cycle, to keep us confeeding the destiny swap that you sign off on us. And now black people are no longer going to participate in the fuckery that y'all have installed. And now the chaos that you've created, the lies, the matrix that you've created is crumbling. And here's the thing. What scares me about y'all is that you know this is happening. Your spirit is telling you that this is happening. That's why you're upset that black people are not protesting with y'all. We're not communicating with y'all. We're not doing none of those things because you are understanding who we really are. And we are coming to understand who we really are. We are breaking our own generational curses, and y'all are not ready for that. And what I advise my black family, continue to evolve. There's a spiritual elevation that we are all taking part in. Just rest. Just rest. Stay in your home. Love on your family. Plant your gardens. Do your thing and rest. The destiny swap contract has run its course. Everything's going to be okay.
You don't believe that the people in the Bible are black? Well, how do you explain this? In the Life magazine from April 5th, 1968, you can look right here, the date is circled with the red, just to verify. This is an actual magazine from 1968. You will find that there are images of the children of Israel who served in slavery in Egypt. Here's another one right here. And here's another one. When you look at all of these images, what you'll find out and realize is that the children of Israel, aka the Jews or the Israelites or the Hebrews, they are all depicted as brown skin or black people in the Egyptian artifacts and archaeology. And just so that people know, this is also found in the Bible. The Bible gives the history of how the Egyptians had the children of Israel, the Israelites, in slavery. You can find this in Exodus 1 and 13. Exodus 1 and 14, and also throughout many various scriptures in the Bible that talks about the children of Israel being in Egypt, building Egypt up to a great nation, and coming out of Egypt by Moses. So now let's fast forward in time a couple hundred years to when the Israelites lived in their own land, the land called Israel. We're going to read an excerpt from this book called From Babylon to Timbuktu, A History of Ancient Black Races, including the Black Hebrews. It's by Rudolph R. Windsor. This says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. What we just read is an excerpt detailing an actual event in history where the Roman armies slaughtered and destroyed Jerusalem and its people in 70 AD, 70 years after the death of Christ. You can look this up online. It's often referred to as the Siege of Jerusalem or the Jewish Rebellion in 70 AD. The Roman Empire even created coins specifically to commemorate this event, when they took over the land of Israel and destroyed the Jews. If you go to Rome today, you would see this famous arch. This is called the Arch of Titus, named, of course, after Titus, General Titus, the son of Emperor Vespasian. He was the one in charge of the siege on Jerusalem, and they made this in his name. This is one of the images carved on the inside of this arch. If you look closely, you can see the people holding the Ark of the Covenant up front and the menorah the candlestick in the back. They literally detailed how the Romans plundered the nation of Israel. They took all their artifacts, all their gold, all of their riches, and they took it back to Rome. So now let's keep reading back to Babylon and Timbuktu. This is very important. Stay with me. It says, during the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. Over 1 million Jews fled from Jerusalem into Africa, escaping the Roman army and the Roman slaughter. So now my question to all of you is this: if the Israelites were not black, how would they be able to flee and hide in Africa? That would have to mean that the Jews, the children of Israel, according to the Bible, in order for them to blend in amongst the Africans, they too would have to be dark-skinned people. Also, this is not the first time when Jews, Israelites, fled into Africa. When you go to Matthew chapter 2, verse 13, it tells you how Joseph and Mary, the parents of Jesus Christ, fled into Egypt from King Herod. Once again, if the Israelites were not black, they would not be able to hide in a continent of dark-skinned people. The Jews in the Bible are black. Let me know what y'all think in the comments.
What is going on? Why do you think that the U.S. is so quick to go help Israel fight against the Palestinians? Why? They know that the Jewish people in Israel are not the original people. Oh, no, no, no. They are definitely not. The original people are black people and people of color. So why did one lady, Judith Shore, she was the Israeli consul, say that the biggest threat in Israel is the younger black community? What? Why do they feel so threatened? Why? Why? Because you know why? They know that the black people were the original chosen ones, the original ones that were there. The people over there now, they took over all that land, just like they're trying to take over all of Palestine. They have taken so much land from Palestine also. But watch what this lady says about the black community being Israel's biggest problem. Like, what? Did you just tell on yourselves that, you know, how y'all took slaves out of there back in the day and brought them, you know, and made them make America and all this, because you took them from their original spot. And now they are trying to sit there and continue to take all the little bit of land that Palestine has. The U.S. is evil. The U.S. is evil, not the people in it, because I am from the U.S. But what I'm saying, all this shit is crazy. We have U.S. soldiers over there going to sit there and kill innocent kids, women, children, elderly men, everything in Palestine. But how did black people, all of a sudden, young black people, in the community of black people, all of a sudden become the problem to Israel? Please explain this to me. Is it because your guilt's starting to get to you? But watch this clip.
The problem of Israel is with the younger generation of the black community. Black Lives Matter starts there.
How long will they keep hiding it? They've been scared for long. They've hid it for long. They don't want black people to actually know about this thing. But they've forgotten that they gave black people the Bible. They took away education from them, right? The people that came on ships. Those people are the real Jews. They made sure these ones were not going to equipped school. Now, these people were forced to have their own schools by themselves, built their thing themselves, underfunded, and they were still going there. Guess what? These people kept researching and researching and researching and researching. And today, here we are. We are not just chosen people, but we are the real Jews. To be honest, a whole lot of you are really, really directly related to Jesus Christ, to Abraham, right? To Solomon in the Bible, and all of them. Some of you are directly related to them. Those people are your own ancestors. That is why I keep saying something. Keep researching. You're going to see a whole lot of things. And you know what? People are scared. They're scared. They don't want you to know. Today, they keep saying things about melanated people. Oh, the melanoid, this and that. Do you know that melanin is now very expensive? Like, people are literally going to take injections for melanin white people. You don't know who you are. If you know who you are, you won't be depressed. If you know who you are, you won't be sad. If you know who you are, you won't bother about racism. You won't bother about this person doesn't like me. You won't bother. And to be honest, I'm so happy that my people over there are beginning to know, you get that? And they're beginning to doubt a whole lot of things. Now, this is what I have to tell you. Carry yourself like the person you are, like the relation of Jesus that you are. Carry yourself very well. Shove everything that doesn't bring you peace or happiness. Whenever you go through diverse temptations and tribulations, remember Jesus, your brother, your ancestor. He's Jesus. He went through even worse. At the end of the day, he was even what? Unalived. He was crucified. So I'm like, let me bring this to you. Are you happy you are one? Let me see you say I'm happy. And tell me thank you for bringing this to you. Tell me thank you. Let me have my thank you in the comment section, okay? Do not forget to always share my videos, like them. Please tell people to come and subscribe. Tell them to come and always watch my videos, right? It's me, your sister Blessing, Global J to BJ. It's my channel. And I'll see you next time. I love you all so much. And I'm super proud to be related to you. Bye, guys.